Chapter 4. A proposal dipped in threats. Sienna scowled heavily as Luca buttered his toast leisurely. He always liked having a big breakfast. He had learned in his early years that in his line of business, only breakfast was guaranteed. You got dinner if you were lucky. Lunch could never be a showy affair. So he liked to first fulfill his appetite before he delved into the business for the day. He was seated at the head of the long dining table. Sienna was sitting on his left side. She had to stop herself from craning her neck to check out all the beautiful wall decor. There was a fruit basket placed in front of them, and to her shock, she saw that the spread in front of her was fit for a king. She wondered if this man was secretly royalty and hence kept talking about a family business. How did Ethan Carter get wrapped up in this man's life? She desperately wanted to understand. Is there something you would like to eat, La Signora? I can ask the kitchen staff to make it for you. Sienna opened and closed her mouth like a goldfish. She was utterly perplexed by the scene in front of her. This guy had refused her advances last night, and this morning somehow he had become her captor. She couldn't make it make sense. She knew her brother was in the middle of this mess. However, she hardly knew how. All she remembered was Ethan texting her last year telling her he had finally landed a job that would finally bring in the big bucks he had been dreaming of for ages. Her stomach turned. Did Ethan fall in with a bad crowd? She really had no contact with him for months, but they had never been the kind of siblings who kept in touch with each other all the time. Ethan appeared, disappeared, and reappeared as and when he pleased. Sienna had learned not to look too closely at his stories, never to cross-question him. He had always hinted that the less she knew about his job, the better off she would be. She wondered if she should have asked more, because despite keeping her distance, she had landed bang in the middle of his mess. Luca's voice was calm as he ate his breakfast. I will need an answer from you. You have to use your words to communicate with me. Sienna's anger flared. Communicate with you? I was dragged from my bed at an ungodly hour and brought before you, after I said I've not seen or heard from my brother in months. Are you going to tell me why I am here? Luca swallowed his toast, maintaining eye contact. Luca said, Ethan Carter was an employee of mine. We found out recently that he had been embezzling money from our business. Sienna asked, so? He stole the money. Find him and make him pay. What do I have to do with any of this? I don't even know what your damn family business is. Luca calmly explained while Sienna looked defensive. It doesn't work like that, Sienna. Ethan messed with my family. Now what kind of a person would I be if I didn't pay him in kind? Sienna's eyes widened with horror. She asked, What do you mean mess with his family? His quiet presence was terrifying her now. She would have felt better if he wasn't talking to her so calmly. She would have liked it better if he was yelling and screaming at her. The quiet kind of thunder had always scared her. Lucky for you, I do not believe in running the family business the way my father did. He did not give people who wronged him a choice, not even the next of kin. But I think I can offer you a fair deal. You kidnapped me. What kind of a fair deal will you be offering me? A pretty straightforward one, Luca explained. Marry me, Sienna. It will settle the debt your family owes mine, and you can protect your brother. And if you refuse, you can have a front row seat as I slowly destroy your family one by one. There isn't much of my family left for you to destroy, Sienna challenged. She thought of her absentee father. She had no idea where he was or if he was still alive. She thought of her brother. Even though he was missing right now, it wasn't unlike him to resurface at odd times. Finally, she thought of her mother. She shared a complicated relationship with her mother. She knew her mother would tell her she was being selfish if she walked away from the deal. Her mother had always told her that family came first, even at deep personal costs. Even though the rule never seemed to apply to her when she was hopping from one boyfriend to the next. Nevertheless, that was still her mother. Sienna said, "Fine, I accept your deal." Luca asked, "What's that now?" He had merely made the offer to buy himself more time, to figure out what his next move would be. The mouthy brunette, being Ethan Carter's sister, was a curveball that life had thrown at him. He was trying to adapt to this weird circumstance as quickly as he could. He actually hadn't anticipated that Sienna would go along with it too. Sienna said coldly, "I accept the deal you just put before me. You do know how deals work, right? Or is this your first time calling the shots in your family business?" "No, of course not. Fine. The sooner we're married, the better. I'll assign a man to you. You can give him your guest list." "Yes, Your Highness," Sienna said mockingly. Luca realized he hadn't told her his name. "I am Luca Vieri." He couldn't bear to see Sienna's face as comprehension dawned on it. So he excused himself the very next second and left her in the dining hall, with her extremely confused thoughts.
After Luca's rather abrupt departure, Sienna sat at the dining table in stunned silence. Once he'd told her his name, his full name, Luca Vieri, she understood the gravity of the situation. She placed her face in between her palms and groaned. Trust wayward Ethan to think that embezzling money from one of the most feared mafia families would be a get-rich-quick scheme. She knew it would be useless to call her mother Rosa Carter for help. The woman had forced both her children into the role of caregivers for each other, happily shirking her duties. How Ethan and Sienna avoided going into the system was anyone's guess. The man who had fetched her from her apartment earlier that morning approached her now, cautiously. "Would you like a tour of the estate, La Signora?" he asked kindly. She blinked. He shrugged. "Boss wants you to know the important lay of the land. He doesn't want you wandering about the place on your own." "Is he worried I am going to find out where the bodies are buried?" she asked. "Above my pay grade, but I will be happy to indulge your theory if you can find concrete evidence." "Are you secretly an undercover cop? Are you also waiting to take a break from it all? You have a wild imagination. I take it you're a writer?" "No, I teach kindergarten. Maybe that's where the wild imagination came from. Well, if you and I are going to see a lot more of each other, I think I should know your name. You clearly know mine. Matteo. Come now." Sienna did not need to be told twice. Even though she was being held hostage in the Vieri estate, she did not feel like a victim. It became increasingly clear to her that Matteo had been assigned to be her bodyguard. She had just agreed to marry the leader of one of the most notorious mafia families. She knew that automatically put a target on her back. However, she was quite surprised by how much effort and dedication he was already demonstrating in trying to keep her safe. Sienna asked, "When am I going to be allowed to go home? If I have to prepare for an impromptu wedding, I need to start as soon as possible, right?" Matteo replied, "Luca will take care of everything, La Signora. Don't worry about anything. Besides playing the role of the dutiful wife in his arms." He gestured to her to get into one of those driving carts that she had only seen in golf courses. She was, honestly, a bit surprised when he took her from the main house a little ways off to show her the pool house and the swimming pool in case she ever fancied a swim. He also took her to the flower gardens, if she had an interest in that, and the greenhouse. Sienna was beginning to see that Luca Vieri had been slowly trying to transform his father's business from what it was to what he envisioned it to be. It was only when Matteo was leading her back inside the Vieri manor to show her the library, because as a teacher she must love books, that she spoke up. Sienna asked, "Is your boss trying to go legit?" Matteo answered, "I don't know what you mean. All the Vieri family business is completely legitimate. Legitimate? Are you really going to stand there and lie to my face, Matteo? Aren't you supposed to keep me safe? Matteo sighed. He could already tell looking after Sienna would be an absolutely exhausting job. But honestly, he did not dare defy Luca on the first task he had assigned Matteo after he had taken over from Nico. He wondered what Nico would make of Luca's impulsive decision to marry this dreadful little Spitfire. Even he couldn't fathom why Luca had proposed to marry her instead of, trying to hold her for ransom against her brother's reappearance. La Signora, if the need ever arises to keep you safe, you have my word that I will. Just that very moment, Luca turned the corner and appeared directly in their path. Seizing the moment and maybe smirking at how well-timed his appearance was, Sienna let out a piercing shriek. Matteo, I am feeling threatened. Won't you please save me? Enough of your theatrics, Sienna. Matteo, please leave us. Matteo nodded and immediately began to retreat. Sienna called after him. I thought you were supposed to have my back, Matteo. Who's going to save me now? Don't worry, La Signora. I will be there to catch you if you happen to fall. Well, at least someone here is willing to save me. He's willing to save you because he has been ordered to. Sienna recoiled at the harshness in his voice, the anger that she did not see to understand that Matteo was nothing but a pawn. He was the king who called the shots, and she was his queen, or would be soon enough. Whatever his or your reasons are, the fact remains it is Matteo who is still willing to risk his life to save mine. Again, that's literally his job. Anyway, that isn't why I was looking for you. Would you like to install a tracker inside of me so that you know where I am at all hours? Don't make me a villain in your head, Sienna. I gave you a fair option. You're here because you have made your choice. You gave me a choice like they give innocent shelter animals a chance to opt out of being euthanized. While I may be here because of the choice I made, you still forced my hand. And I do not have to like that choice, or you, for that matter. That's funny. I happen to remember that not too long ago you were willing to throw yourself into my arms because I refused to look your way. While you are here, I expect you to follow the rules of the estate. They exist to keep everyone safe. What? Can I get a refund on this kidnapping already? Luca sighed heavily. He knew instantly it was going to be a long time before he and Sienna could have a civil conversation with each other.
Even though Luca Vieri would never admit it, he was beginning to enjoy Sienna Carter's presence in his estate and in his life. She had fallen into a routine of having breakfast with him, and then spending her time roaming around the Vieri manor, with Matteo following her at a safe distance. He had decided that after she had talked his ear off the first 2 times, they had walked in sync. The men who served the Vieri family also grew tired of her endless questions, her broad hints about trying to find a conspiracy, and helping Matteo save his charge from increasingly dangerous situations that she kept putting herself in. They were getting both infuriated and amused by her antics. The latest was when she had to be rescued from the roof of the pool house that she had climbed on a whim and couldn't figure out how to get down. Matteo swallowed his pride and saved her, and made sure word never got back to Luca Vieri about his fiancée's reckless behavior. "Where's the rest of your family?" Luca stopped mid-chew. Sienna asked matter-of-factly, "I am marrying into your family. I think I deserve to know about them, even if I am not allowed to meet them. My father died when I was young, and my mother chooses not to live in this manner. She says the memories are too painful. She stays in an assisted living facility. We can go visit her if you'd like, before the wedding. And you'll meet my cousin Nico this afternoon." "Oh," Sienna said softly. Luca commented, "You sound disappointed." I just assumed there would be grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins abound in this huge place. I mean, if I had all this space, I would definitely make use of it all. Luca replied, "It used to be exactly like that, a long time ago." "Well, are you going to expand on that, Your Highness?" Sienna pressed. Luca snapped, "Don't call me that, just Luca is fine." That evening, when Nico called on Luca, he was greeted with the sight of him sitting in the living room nursing a drink, while his bride-to-be sat in a corner reading a book she had borrowed from the Vieri library. Nico, Vo. "And who is this?" Luca explained. "This is Sienna Carter. She's my fiancée. We are looking to get married next week." Nico almost choked on air on hearing that. He offered Sienna a polite smile, and then dragged Luca to the next room by his collar. Sienna watched this scene thoroughly amused. Once Nico was sure they were out of earshot, he launched into a tirade of questions. Nico asked, surprised, "Are you telling me you're marrying Ethan Carter's sister? Seriously, Luca, what has gotten into you?" It made perfect sense. I gave her a choice. Besides, you know I couldn't leave her outside. Word travels fast. If someone found out her brother robbed us, she becomes a bargaining chip for a lot of people, isn't it? Nico asked. "Are you telling me that you actually care about this woman?" Luca said, "No, I am saying this was strategic thinking. Given the cards we were dealt, this was the best hand to play." "I believe you. Just make sure the rest of the world does too, or else we will end up in a much bigger mess than we started with." Luca nodded grimly. The meeting with his mother went far better than the one with Nico. She genuinely believed that Luca Vieri had found and fallen head over heels in love with Sienna Carter. And Sienna played the part of the doting daughter-in-law to perfection. "I'm so glad I got to meet you, Mrs. Vieri," Sienna told the woman. "Me too, my girl, me too. Luca, I am so glad you found such a wonderful young woman," Mrs. Vieri said enthusiastically. She looked forward to her son's wedding. The part neither Sienna nor Luca had anticipated about the rehearsal was that they would be doing a dry run of the ceremony itself. The officiant stood between them, waiting for one of them to say their vows. "Don't tell me you forgot to write your vows. You do know that's an unskippable part of the wedding, don't you?" he asked them. Before the ceremony had started, Luca had caught hold of Sienna, gripping her upper arm tightly, and whispered in her ear, "Act like we are crazy in love. You cannot blow our cover. Can you do that, Sienna? Remember, your family's fate rests in your acting abilities tonight." Then he had let go of her just as suddenly, but she still had goosebumps from when he had whispered menacingly in her ears. "Very well then. All that's left for you to do is kiss your bride," the officiant said. Luca was looking at her as though he had suddenly been granted permission to touch something that is both precious and sacred. He knew he would have to act quickly. The ballroom they had rented for the rehearsal was filled with people who had their doubts about this engagement and wedding. Luca had no choice but to really sell that they were truly in love. In one swift movement, he took Sienna by the waist and dipped her. Then he brought her back up and gently kissed her on the lips. She responded to his kiss on instinct and kissed him back passionately. Their passion rivaled the fire of 1,000 suns. Well, well, well. Way to make the rest of us feel single. Both Sienna and Luca looked around to see a pretty woman with blood-red lips, jet-black hair, and the palest skin staring daggers at them. Sienna did not recognize her, but Luca did, instantly. It was the same woman who had crushed his heart beneath her heel and walked away without a care in the world, Valentina Moretti. "You never can throw a party in our world, Luca, and not expect me to show up. Isn't that right, Uncle?" An older gentleman now appeared at her side. He had salt and pepper hair, his eyes were cold, and his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. Sienna noted that he sported a rather expensive suit. Of course, Valentina. Especially since this party should have been in your honor, Angelo's voice thundered. An audible gasp went through the crowd and murmurs broke out between the guests. Luca looked like a deer caught in the headlights, and Sienna waited with bated breath for him to explain himself.